The legendary saga of the Bunker household in Queens, New York, takes a turn into absolute chaos when Archie and Edith find themselves on the receiving end of a surprise package that neither ordered nor particularly wanted. It all begins on a regular evening with Archie coming home desperate to watch the Rangers and Blackhawks game, complaining about deadbeats and wishing for the return of Herbert Hoover, only to find Edith trying to explain a complex family tree. According to Edith, a cousin named Floyd is coming to visit. And after a dizzying explanation involving second marriages, step-cousins, and nieces once removed, Archie assumes Floyd is coming to beg for money. Instead, Floyd arrives with a giant surprise in the form of his young daughter, Stephanie. Edith is immediately smitten, recalling Stephanie as a baby, while Archie stands there giving the child the ultimate sideways glance, hoping this surprise visit is incredibly brief. It turns out Floyd is on his way to Fort Lauderdale and casually asks if the Bunkers can look after Stephanie for a couple of weeks. Archie immediately protests, declaring that Edith doesn't need a helpless child demanding attention because she already has him to take care of. But Edith immediately overrules him with pure joy, leaving Archie to grumble that the Pope has already handed out enough saints and they do not need another one lousing up their peaceful life. When Archie makes it absolutely clear that Stephanie is not welcome, a heartbroken Floyd decides to drag his daughter out of the house immediately, skipping dinner entirely because people do not want to eat when their feelings are hurt. Archie tries to teach a moral lesson about how parents need to raise their own children instead of dumping them on kind and dopey relatives. But the victory is incredibly short-lived. Just moments after they leave, Archie discovers that Floyd has quite literally dumped his responsibilities on their front porch, leaving Stephanie behind while he flees toward Florida. Panic ensues as Archie desperately searches through Edith's address book for any other relative to take the kid, even considering an Aunt Luella residing at a farm in Utica, only to find out it is a home for elderly, overly happy people. Desperate, Archie threatens to call the police, but Edith physically battles him for the telephone, leading to a hilarious wrestling match where Archie claims she injured the back of his knee. Trying to solve the deadlock like the United States government, Archie calls for a democratic vote on whether the kid stays or goes. Archie votes, she goes. Edith votes, she stays. And when Archie tries to cast the deciding tie-breaking vote as the self-appointed president, Edith dryly reminds him that she never voted for him in the first place. The domestic standoff takes a dramatic turn when Stephanie realizes she is causing a massive fight and decides to take matters into her own hands by running away with her suitcase. Edith discovers she is missing and panics, convinced the young girl is trying to walk all the way to Fort Lauderdale by herself. Archie is sent rushing down to the bus station, grumbling that if the police cannot even find a massive missing figure like Jimmy Hoffa, they have zero chance of finding a little girl in New York City. At the bustling transit station, amidst announcements for the Somerset and Westerfield bus routes, Archie spots Stephanie hiding behind a magazine. Instead of yelling, Archie uses a bizarre mix of reverse psychology and classic guilt, telling her that running away from his house makes him look like a criminal who is contributing to the delinquency of a minor. He paints a terrifyingly hilarious picture of police interrogations, claiming the cops might shine lights in her face or hold her doll hostage while knocking her around, and warns her that he could face 5 to 10 years in a tough prison like Dannemora. When Stephanie casually suggests Edith could just get a new husband if he goes to jail, Archie takes deep offense, asking if she thinks a woman can just replace a man like him that easily. Which Stephanie brutally replies that her own mother did exactly that because she grew completely tired of looking at her father's face. As they continue talking, Stephanie reveals the heartbreaking truth that her mother was killed in a car accident and that she has only $1.85 to her name. She explains that her grand plan was simply to wait at the bus station until someone noticed her and took her to a children's shelter, which is what usually happens before her father eventually comes back to get her. Archie's hardened exterior completely melts away upon hearing this devastating routine. He abandons all his complaints, lies through his teeth by claiming he was just telling Edith how wonderful it would be to have a little girl around the house, and offers to buy her a soda, some chewing gum, and a comic book. They return home together, having formed an unlikely bond, and the Bunkers officially welcome Stephanie into their lives, even though Archie still struggles to remember her name, routinely calling her Rosemary or Melanie, or simply whatever before Edith corrects him. Just as the household settles into the new routine of raising a child, a brand new crisis hits the Bunker family when Archie and his business partner, Harry Snowden, take a physical exam for partnership insurance. The insurance agent, Mr. Stanley, makes the mistake of talking endlessly about what happens if one of them kicks the bucket, which makes Harry incredibly nervous. The tension explodes when Mr. Stanley returns with the X-ray results and announces that the doctor found a mysterious spot on someone's liver. Because of a misunderstanding, Barney Hefner spreads the rumor through the neighborhood that Archie is the one facing a terminal illness. When Archie comes home, he is met by an incredibly somber and overly affectionate Edith, who has already heard the terrible news from Barney. Archie, completely unaware of the rumor, interprets Edith's sudden desire to pamper him with chocolates and a fancy meatloaf dinner as a sign of supreme devotion. He tells her they are no longer going to live by the calendar, deciding to skip their planned trip to California because he thinks the West Coast is the worst place in the world to be buried due to earthquakes knocking your bones around and flash floods washing you right onto the freeways. The confusion reaches a peak of absolute hilarity until the next day when Archie returns home from the doctor, completely ecstatic. He reveals to Edith that the terrifying spot on the liver actually belonged to Harry, and even better, it was not a tumor at all, but just a picture of trapped gas from Harry eating and drinking like a pig. Relief washes over the household, and Archie immediately reverts back to his usual loudmouth self, yelling at Stephanie for putting the forks on the wrong side of the place setting and commanding her to help Edith in the kitchen. Meanwhile, across the street, the neighborhood soap opera continues, as Barney Hefner is completely miserable because his wife, Blanche, has left him for a young exterminator. Barney is drinking away his sorrows at Archie's bar, weeping over old photographs, and remembering the good old days when they went fishing and Hank Pymley got terribly seasick. Archie tries to comfort his friend using his trademark lack of empathy, telling Barney that being sentimental will not do any good and suggesting he clean his cellar to take his mind off things. Archie even describes Blanche in the most unflattering terms imaginable, recalling how she looked in the morning with rollers in her hair, resembling electrical generators receiving radar from the moon with a face that looked completely stuccoed. Desperate to help his friend, Archie tries to set Barney up with Boom Boom, a cute waitress at the bar who has just arrived via a wild subway ride where someone stole a naked man's clothes in the dark. The matchmaking plans are instantly derailed when Blanche Hefner walks into Edith's kitchen looking for a shoulder to cry on. Blanche confesses to Edith that the handsome young exterminator abandoned her in Atlantic City after a massive argument, telling her to bug off, which she notes is just classic exterminator terminology. Blanche admits she left Barney because he completely ignored her while they lived together, noting that Barney missed her note on the pillow right away on Wednesday, even though she had actually left the previous Sunday. Edith convinces Blanche to give Barney another chance, and they head down to Archie's bar for a dramatic confrontation. The bar is alive with music and dancing, which makes Archie extremely nervous because he does not possess a proper entertainment license for dancing. When Blanche sees Barney dancing happily with Boom Boom, fireworks explode. Archie jumps into the middle of the marital dispute, waving a Bible and shouting about the rules of society, declaring that Blanche broke the 10 Commandments by taking her cleavage to Atlantic City. Edith defends Blanche, pointing out that everyone breaks rules sometimes, and reminds Archie of his own past indiscretions, including the time he went to a strange woman's apartment and the time Edith herself stole an Henry candy bar from the 5 and 10 cent store when she was 6 years old. Edith notes that she later returned to the store to pay back the nickel, but because of inflation, she had to pay a dime. This trip down memory lane diffuses the tension, and Barney and Blanche realize they still love each other, deciding to head home to replace their dead pet fish. Archie and Edith are left alone in the bar, and in a rare moment of romance, Archie takes Edith in his arms and begins to dance, proudly proclaiming that back in his youth, they used to call him the Big Dipper as he swings her around the floor. Stability is finally restored until another letter arrives from Floyd, threatening to upend everything once again. Archie tries to steam open the mail using the kitchen kettle, arguing that a child is not officially a person until they turn 21 and that the Lord is on his side, though Edith points out the Lord never steamed open a letter. The letter reveals that Floyd has taken a job on a ship and will not be coming back for Stephanie anytime soon, hoping she will eventually get used to her Uncle Lodge. Realizing the father has abandoned her completely, Archie tries to explain the financial burden of raising a child to Stephanie, even inspecting her teeth and checking her reflexes to see if she is going to cost him a fortune in medical bills. But as Stephanie looks at him with big eyes Archie realizes he cannot send her away. He cuts his speech short, drops his tough guy act, and yells for Edith to get him a cold beer, fully accepting his new role as the official guardian of the sweet little girl who has permanently captured a piece of his stubborn heart. It was an ordinary evening in the borough of Queens, New York, where the local air was thick with the scent of cheap cigars and domestic panic. Archie Bunker came bursting through his own front door like a man who had narrowly escaped a minor natural disaster, shouting about how he wanted to eat dinner at lightning speed. His singular mission for the night was to catch the absolute beginning of the Rangers and Blackhawks game on his beloved TV set, a sacred ritual that required minimal human interference. Instead of finding a steaming plate of food ready for rapid consumption, he found his wife Edith standing in the kitchen looking entirely too guilty for a Tuesday. Archie took one look at the table settings and counted 3 places, which immediately triggered his internal alarms. He demanded to know if they were harboring a deadbeat for dinner, expressing his absolute hatred for unexpected freeloaders. Edith, with her characteristic high-pitched optimism, informed him that they were expecting company all the way from New Jersey. Archie scoffed loudly, declaring that he would honestly prefer to see someone arriving from Red China than anyone from the state of Jersey.